Hi guys, welcome back to the channel for another video. Bit of an update, we are now a family channel. I'm kidding, we're not a family channel. We are reacting to a kids show today, but we will never ever be a family channel. So today I have been asked to, by our community, respond to an episode of a very popular cartoon, Bluey, which is a cartoon that is produced by ABC here in Australia, but apparently it's very popular all over the world. So go Australian production, love that. I'm not familiar with kids TV shows. I'm not yet a parent. I'm going through the process of getting there. So I'm also not speaking as an authority on how to be a parent at all, but I am only familiar with like Baby Shark because I don't think anyone got out of getting that thing stuck in their head. So this world is very new to me, but I have had lots of articles sent to me. I have some awareness of what is going to be in this episode, so I'm not going in totally blind, and apparently the part we need to pay attention to is really just at the beginning. It's a whole 7 minutes, but I probably won't include the whole thing in here, and I'll try to do it in a way that doesn't get my channel taken down with copyright issues. But apparently it's been parents and experts in sort of the childhood development arena who have been calling into question some of what was represented in this episode around weight and bodies and movement. And so I'm more than happy to comment, again, not from a position of authority as a parent, because I am not a parent. I'm not here to tell you how to be a parent, but as someone with my own eating disorder history and who works with people who have eating disorder histories as they're recovering from eating disorders, understand why people might want me to make a comment. And because statistically we just know that the onset of eating disorders, that age group, is getting younger and younger and younger, and not just eating disorders but body image distress, and kids just being super aware of beauty standards and body standards. I was very young when I was aware of that for various reasons. Don't really remember a time like pre being recovered where I had a relationship with my food or body or movement that was intuitive. Had to sort of build that from scratch. But anyway, let's see what we're talking about before we talk about it. Are they cattle dogs? They're so cute. Okay, so here's Dad. Oh, Dad's getting on the scales.
Oh man. Bluey.
Why did you say, oh man?
I just need to do some exercise.
Tell me about it.
Oh, Mum too. Oh.
Found you. Why don't you just do some exercise?
Okay, I'm really hoping that this is setting the tone for having a conversation about movement not being about changing your body, but I hope it's only like 7 minutes and we've got 6 minutes to go. I don't know if they can do a pivot that quickly, and the headlines tell me probably not. But something I am picking up on is, which I can imagine people would be concerned about and why they want this episode re-edited, is not just like the obvious getting on the scale, not liking the number that is seen, and then that immediate connection to that means I have to engage in movement, and that's the purpose of movement, is to change my body, right? Not something, not only that I don't want kids to absorb, I don't want adults absorbing that. That's part of the work I do with clients, is handing their relationship with movement over to their healthy self. If they want a relationship with movement, nobody is obligated to, but making sure that they're doing it truly to like get their brain and their body nicely connected, to calm their nervous system, to get out in nature, to be with people, to have fun, to play, to soothe themselves, to support their body. Like for me, I have a chronic illness. Walking is a huge mental and physical support to me. There's so many different uses for movement that we can promote that are not this. But they could challenge it. Who knows? Maybe it's going to be a trilogy. Maybe they're going to go like Lord of the Rings with it. But the body checking, right? The body checking and the negative talk about the body in front of the kids is very common, but just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal. So many of my clients report that their earliest memories, because we do a history intake where we try to go back to like, where did this relationship with food and body start and where has it gone a bit left, right? Majority of them will report that at some point a caregiver demonstrated to them a relationship with food or body, which really formed or helped to form a disordered view of their own body, other bodies, their relationship with food, etc. This is not a blame game on parents. It is just clinically what we know. Yeah. So I'm really encouraged that parents saw this and saw that demonstration and went, that's not great. And it's not just, like I said, the message that could be imparted to kids. It's the message that could be imparted to parents that speaking negatively about their own body, or God forbid their kids' bodies or other people's bodies, has a really negative impact. I think if we have to acknowledge that the relationships that children view has a bearing on the relationships that they form later in life, it is not a stretch to say that the relationship that we have with our body has an enormous influence on how children then view their own bodies and how they relate to it. And that if they see you as this incredibly powerful, important influence in their life, saying that there is a right and wrong way to have a body, that they are quite likely to emulate those beliefs.
And I think your boss would want you to be very happy as well.
I don't know that all bosses feel that way.
Oh, man.
Oh, Mum too. Okay, so I've watched the rest of the episode. Nothing happened other than Dad's exercising and hating it, and the kids are having the most amazing time incidentally engaging in movement because they're playing and role playing and living in their lovely little imaginary world, which I think just sets up what this message could have been, which is that movement, if you want to engage in it, can be a really joyful, playful, creative, lovely thing. There is just this time where we go from, you know, pretending to be mermaids and fairies like we did until we were way probably too old to still be doing that. I mean, I still do it to this day if I didn't think people were going to see me do it. To then movement becoming like this punishing thing that Dad is just hating. He's just hating it. And, you know, the kids are engaging in a similar level of movement and they're just having the loveliest time. And then Mum gets in on the exercise at the end, and that's pretty much what happens for the rest of the episode. So having watched it, I completely understand why parents would have had the response that they did, why experts had the response they did. And I know that there was a big reaction and people might interpret that as an overreaction, but I actually just think that it's new for a lot of people to see this discourse, because for such a long time we were kind of sleepwalking through all this stuff, right? And it's really encouraging to me to know that there's this generation of parents out there who are literate in this area, who can see something which 10 years ago, 20 years ago for sure, 30 years ago without a doubt, would have just seemed totally innocuous and like it was, you know, not something to at least be mindful of. I don't think people are picketing Bluey. I think that they're just asking for the creators to be mindful of the messaging they're putting in there, because it doesn't, having watched the rest of the episode, there is no, you know, movement can be fun, and it's not about your body looking a certain way, and you know, it's not about punishing yourself. It's about connection. It's about being with your family. It's about playing. It's about soothing yourself and calming yourself. It's got all these great functions, and the only one they explore is like, I don't like my weight, I'm going to exercise, and I'm going to hate it as well. And maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago it would have actually been a bit more innocuous, because we didn't have the rates of kids dealing with body image distress and eating disorders like we do now. So I totally understand why this didn't go unchallenged. Again, I don't think there's anything nefarious or there's any ill intent here. I think it's just a reflection of the fact that so many of us are just breathing the fumes of diet culture as if it's air and just cannot see it. I really just believe this is a demonstration of people who are human who just cannot see it because it seems to be so normal. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. I've been saying it for years. I'll say it forever. And for anybody who thinks that, oh, parents are overreacting or experts are overreacting, we've already sort of had a look at those statistics. But from my own anecdotal experience, and as you know, something that I hear time and time again in my client work, I was weighed at the age of 6 at my school by my teachers, as was everybody else in our year. We were all put on scales. Those numbers were all written up on the blackboard, if you can believe those things were around 1,000 years ago, with our names. and I was always larger than my peers, taller, bigger in size. The numbers were not put up there to start a discussion about all bodies are worthy and numbers don't matter, because if they don't matter, then why are we getting on scales and why are we putting it up on the board? It was just pointed out how much bigger I was than my peers, and like that was shocking and not right. That's not what I should be. I still remember that. I've forgotten a lot about my eating disorder. I will never, ever, ever forget that feeling of being singled out and having it made clear to me that this number was really important and it was wrong. And in order to avoid that kind of singling out and being different, which no 6-year-old wants to be, it was my obligation to try to change that. And I carried that with me for years, and my experiences kept backing up that belief that was planted at such a young age. And there was no alternative to that. It was a belief that was backed up by my caregivers, by my friends, by my peers, by everyone, that if you don't want to be ridiculed and singled out and bullied for your size, well, then you've got to change your size. Like, nobody has to change their behavior or their worldview. You have to change your body. So I don't think we can overreact in these situations when you combine the stats along with just mountains of anecdotal experiences being shared about how impactful those conversations around body and weight in those formative years really is. It's so impactful. It's so important. I know that I said I wasn't going to give any parental advice, but it seems like everybody's aware anyway because of the amazing response to this episode. If you are a parent who has body image concerns, I would implore you for your own well-being to seek out help to support you through that and to unpack that. But if you're not quite at that step yet, to be really, really mindful of not making body-focused comments at all around your children, not just about yourself, certainly not about them, and not about other people. And that's even on the positive end of things. It's been really interesting as a coach over the years to hear about the damage that can be done when body comments are made all along the spectrum of negative to positive. That obviously if there's negative comments made about their bodies, then they internalize that and they, use that to perpetuate this harm on themselves. But that also happens when positive comments are made as well, because the feedback they internalize is, this is what is making me worthy to other people. It is something that people will notice has changed if I allow it to change. And these are kids who are going through puberty, who have to change, who have a right to change, who for their health need to change, are then trying to fight biologically what's happening to them because they've been given this message that they're losing something that makes them valuable. So when people say, well, I want to make positive comments about it, that's great. You can choose to make that comment. You don't get to choose how it's absorbed or interpreted or which part of that person is using that. A disordered part of them or an ordered part of them. So let's just be really, really careful and use that space of giving someone a compliment to shore up something much more valuable, which is their character, their personality, their sense of self, their identity, their kindness, their intelligence, their humor, whatever it is. That'll go much further for them than commenting on a physical attribute in either a positive or a negative way. So if I was going to give any advice, I feel fairly safe giving that advice. Thanks so much for coming and watching a Cute Kids TV show with me and listening to my thoughts as a non-parent. But again, let me know your thoughts below. Always love to hear your feedback and your 2 cents. I'll be back next week with another video, I'm pretty sure that's the plan at the moment. We're getting back in the swing of things. And I think the podcast is coming back too. We've got a couple of things lined up. Anyway, guys, much love. Take care. See you next week. Bye.